checking us out. RX Smart Gear Jump Ropes, the best jump ropes in the business. Our title sponsor and such great support from them. You can get your RX Smart Gear Jump Ropes by going to rxsmartgear.com. At checkout, use Clydesdale15, all caps, and you can get 15% off your order. You can buy jump ropes of any color, shape, size. The handles, you can make those whatever you want. You can get the cable at different weights and different lengths depending on your height. So check it out at rxsmartgear.com. Use Clydesdale15 at checkout, and you'll get 15% off your order. That does exclude new additions, new arrivals, and special editions. But check that out. It's a great deal. In addition to that, they're also supporting our hashtag Road to 1,000. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Clydesdale Fitness and Friends podcast, and you have a public profile, every time we hit the century mark with subscribers, we're giving away a brand new RX Smart Gear jump rope. And Dave Newman, the owner of the company, has promised to throw in a couple extras for that winner. So make sure you go over, subscribe, and you have a public profile, and you may be our next winner.
Okay, can we talk about the most delicious protein bars ever made? Bear Bells. These are caramel cashew. These are my go-to. They're my favorite. They have 20 grams of protein, no added sugar. The macros are phenomenal, like 200 calories, less than a handful of grams of sugar in the whole bar. Did I say 20 grams of protein? Yeah. They are delicious, like a treat. Can't believe that the macros are the way they are and that the nutrients are what they are, because they taste like a candy bar. And I know my candy bars pretty well. I'm like a Snickers type of person. There's no aftertaste. They have so many flavors to choose from. If you're not a fan of the caramel cashew, they've got salty peanut. They have a hazelnut nougat. They've got a chocolate dough, a crispy fudge, cookies and cream. What am I missing? White chocolate almond. They're all delicious. I like all of them, but check them out at bearbells.com. Try some for yourself. You won't be sorry. They're delicious. Totally awesome.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Hi.
Good, how are you?
Good.
Glad the link worked for you.
Yeah, no problems.
So how you been?
I'm hanging in there. Got this little bit of a neck thing that's been acting up and giving me problems. Feel pretty much debilitated the last 2 days, so I'm going to get an MRI on it.
Yeah, necks
Outside of that, I'm
are a
good.
pain.
Oh man. It's like when your neck isn't working, you have to compensate by turning your whole body around. It's been rough.
So you outside?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Is it warm enough in Colorado, or?
It's a little chilly today, but I was out on the road and I figured a Starbucks would be the place to stop and do this thing at. And of course you can't sit inside right now. So
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. We're really laid back. It's just kind of a conversation. And we won't take up more than an hour of your time. And I've met you a couple times at the Arnold. And seen you around Columbus
been a few
bunch.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Amy and I are based in Columbus, Ohio. So I've seen you at Rogue. I've seen you at the Arnold, but I was super excited to interview you. So for our listeners, first of all, this is a Clydesdale Fitness and Friends. My name is Scott Schweitzer. I'm your host. I'm the Clydesdale. We love to do fitness, and these are my friends. And today we have a special friend, Matt Chan, CrossFit legend, Titan Games champion, among a million other things, a firefighter as well as that. So where did you grow up, Matt?
I grew up on the south side of Chicago, town called Homewood, about maybe like 30, 45 minutes south of the city. So
yeah. So that's
I moved to Denver in like 2001. So I've spent now the majority of my life in Colorado.
So Sox or Cubs fan?
Cubs. Yeah. I remember going to a Sox game when I was a kid, probably like 7, 8 years old, and the Robert Taylor homes are if you're sitting in the outfield, you can see the Robert Taylor homes. And my mom took me to the game, and I remember seeing the Robert Taylor homes on fire. And I asked my mom, I was a little sketched out by the neighborhood anyway, but I asked my mom, I was like, "Wow, is this normal that these apartments are on fire?" And she's like, "Well, kind of." So from then on, we went to Wrigley Field.
Nice. Are you a Bears fan?
Honestly, I don't watch much football. It's because of for years of working for CrossFit. I worked every single weekend, so didn't have a ton of time to actually catch any of the games. And since then, I've caught maybe a Broncos game here and there.
Okay. I am a Bears fan. That's why I ask.
Oh,
I don't know if you can see
nice.
the helmet there somewhere there.
Oh yeah, got it. Yep.
So what was your fitness like as a kid? Did you play a lot of sports?
Yeah, I think my mom recognized that I had a ton of energy, and that if I didn't burn it off somehow, I was going to get in a bunch of trouble. So I think I started with swimming. That was kind of the first thing at the age of 5. And then, kind of cycled through things as the seasons went around. So I played soccer, played baseball, a little bit of pee-wee football. And the one mainstay in my life was always the swimming. And that generally, it was almost year round. So we had USA age group swimming that we did pretty much all year, summer included. And when I went into high school, I immediately made the varsity team on high school swimming. So I did that for 4 years. And when I went to college, I decided to not swim, and instead I played water polo for Western Illinois University. So still in the water, but basically in the water from the age of 5 until I graduated from college. I think I was like 22 or 23.
So that's my background. I was a swimmer coming up. I swam in college. What events did you do?
Mostly the 50, the 100, and the 200 IM. Those are kind of the 3 that were the most common that I did. But I think our coach kind of flipped us through some different events just to see how we do. And I swam the 200 free from time to time, the 100 breaststroke from time to time, the 100 butterfly. But primarily the 50 and 100 free, and then the 200 IM.
Yeah, 200 IM was probably my favorite. I did I did the 2 and the 200 and 500 freestyle, and that just gets long and boring. But
yeah. I like
the
that
IM was
now, though. I like those longer ones where you have to kind of pace it out a little bit. I feel like maybe in high school I didn't have the mind for pacing, so like the 100 and the 50 were kind of right up my alley.
Yeah. And then you played water polo, which may be the most savage sport out there that people don't even realize. The amount of action under the surface of the water is intense.
Yeah, I mean, it's no wrestling and it's no hockey, but for certain, it's a rough sport. And when I was playing, I was probably like 175, 185. No, I wasn't built like I am now, and I certainly was probably more of like the beta in the water. So I got my ass kicked a lot, and luckily I had the swimming background, so I could get my ass kicked and then swim away quickly.
Yeah. So you went to Western Illinois for college, and what did you study? Did you always want to be a firefighter, or did you study something different?
No, actually I studied computer science and information management. So I was kind of a nerd, and it was great. It filled the needs that it needed to. I actually got a job at Winter Park Resort in Colorado when I moved out there in their IT department, which I did that for a number of years, probably about 7 years. And firefighting hadn't even entered my mind. It was something that I kind of happened into because a friend of mine was a volunteer firefighter in Grand County, which is where I was living. And she asked me to come into one of their recruiting nights and lured me in with free pizza. And So I went and got the free pizza, and I actually ended up volunteering there for about 3 to 4 years. And for a few years in there, I was even a resident in the station, and really just kind of started to really like it, and really started disliking what I was doing in IT. So I could see, the writing was on the wall that I wasn't really all that good at the information technology stuff. But that firefighting kind of came naturally because it was physical. It was, dangerous, and kind of fit within the things that I liked to do, like mountain biking and backcountry skiing. There was that element of fear and kind of overcoming fear, and I really enjoyed that side of it.
And so that just became a love of yours, and you're still doing it all the way up till today?
Yeah. I did it for those 4 years at East Grand, and then kind of pursued, what it would look like to do it as a career. And I don't know if you know this, but the firefighting career is kind of a coveted position because of the schedule, the pay, the benefits. So when a department hires, generally they get thousands of applicants, and not only do you have to have the correct certifications and credentials to even apply, but you really have to have your interviewing skills dialed in, and really know what you want out of the job, and how you would fit in with the crews. So that took me a number of years to actually figure out how to interview properly for the job. But once I figured it out, I ended up getting a job pretty quickly at North Metro Fire in the North Denver suburbs.
So was firefighting what took you from Chicago to Denver?
No, it was actually when I graduated from college. My parents told me I had to pay rent. So I was like, well, yeah, if I'm going to pay rent, I'm going to pay rent somewhere I want to live. So I moved out to Colorado.
Okay. And then I think I read somewhere that you were active in a gym when you were firefighting to stay fit, but it wasn't anything like CrossFit. It was like the back tries, buys, typical stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. So, we're talking back in like probably 2000, basically from when I was in high school. So 92 until I got the job in 2007 with North Metro Fire. That was the routine. Everything I read in the various magazines was like the whole bodybuilding style of back and buys, chest and tries, separating the movements, supersets, an overload method. And that's kind of what I knew. And that's, the internet was kind of new, and all the resources that are available now are not available then. But when I got hired by North Metro in 2007, one of the guys that I worked with, I told him that I was having problems maintaining kind of a lower respiratory rate and heart rate when wearing my bunker gear and my pack, and then tasked with something like dragging a buddy out of a room. And he was like, yeah, I heard about this thing called CrossFit that's supposed to be just for that sort of thing. You should check that out. And he printed out one of the CrossFit Journal articles that was it was written about Parker Fire, which is actually a former fire department just south of where I'm at now, that implemented CrossFit as a PT, their physical training for their academies. So, I actually went down and checked out this academy and how they were running their stuff, and it was pretty interesting to watch. They were doing fight combat, actually. I didn't know it at the time, but that's what they were doing. So I joined a gym, a CrossFit gym, and tried giving that a shot, and I was really pleased with the outcome. I was sore every day, and I put on, right away, I put on 10 pounds of muscle. And I think it was just lower body muscle, because I really didn't know how to do things like front squat, back squat, deadlift. That was really not something I'd really done before. So I was very pleased with the program and just kind of stuck with it.
Did you notice a difference aerobically as well?
No, actually, I'd have to say that, the aerobics development from a CrossFit program is one of my complaints maybe with the CrossFit program, is that, it's always high intensity. And that's something that, define CrossFit, constantly varied functional movements, high intensity. But, I think as I've aged and kind of implemented other parts of other programs into what I do, I think the aerobic development side is actually more important than the high intensity part of it. Now, that's not to say that they're not both important, because they are. But the aerobic development stuff is boring and nobody wants to do it. And frankly, it's what allows you to recover better between efforts. So as a firefighter, we're limited by the time that we have in our SCBA bottle. So, generally that's somewhere between 15 and 25 minutes for most guys. And generally, you're working at a fast pace anaerobically. And then once you are kind of like 3/4 of the way through your bottle, it's time to go out and switch out. And during that time, you need to recover before you get sent in again. And that's what I had a hard time doing. So by implementing more aerobic work, so lower heart rate, kind of like a heart rate where you can talk in full sentences without resting. And by implementing 3 days a week of that stuff, I found that my fitness has actually gotten a lot better.
That's cool.
Matt, one of the things I'm always surprised about, just when we talk with firefighters, like we've had Ron Ortiz on here before, but besides the PT test to get in, I find that not all departments, but some departments, that there's not necessary an annual or more follow-up on keeping your physical fitness. So what are your thoughts on that piece?
Well, we do at our department, we do 2 assessments every year. We do one that's called the fitness assessment, which is generically referred to as the punt, pass, and kick, because we just test a few different things, and it's used for your information only as a firefighter. It's not shared with administrative staff. It's not shared with doctors or anything like that. It's literally just for your information, and it's to trend the direction that your health and well-being is going. So we use those data points as something to say, hey, look, looks like you're slipping on this, and this. If you need any assistance with that, just, you got your list of pure fitness trainers on your shift to reach out to, and don't hesitate to do it. And then the second test that we utilize is, we call it the job performance assessment. And it's honestly a lot like a CrossFit event, like a chipper, but made up of firefighting tasks. So it starts with a walk up 3 flights of stairs carrying a hose bundle, and you're wearing your turnout gear and a SCBA bottle. And you walk up 3 flights of stairs carrying a hose bundle. So, generally like 20 to 30 pounds. You work your way up the stairs, you get to the top, and you pull a hose line on a halyard up over a balcony. And that thing's pretty heavy. I think it weighs like 30 to 50 pounds. Lower it back down under control, and then go back down the 3 set of stairs. You do a forcible entry prop where you actually you bang up against this pad until you hit a buzzer. You drag a couple things, you raise a ladder. So it's a pretty inclusive set of tests, and there's a time frame in which you have to complete it. And again, this is something that is recorded for time, and you can see where you're trending. Am I faster or slower than I was previously? And if you are over that time limit, you have to work with a pure fitness trainer to actually get yourself back in shape to pass it. In theory, we're supposed to pull people offline so that they are not a risk to others if they are unable to pass that job performance assessment. But we do give our firefighters every attempt that they need to try it again, Maybe they slipped, maybe they had a bad day, maybe their ankle hurt, but we let them retest it. And if they pass it, then no big deal. But it is something that we're looking at to see. I mean, just like any other thing, we don't want our brothers and sisters to be eliminated from the job, but at the same time, we do want them to be safe. So we are looking at other methods to assess fitness and give them a number, basically a metric that they know they have to meet every year. And that metric should be all inclusive. And one of the ones that I really like is a VO2 max. The problem with VO2 max is the older you get, your VO2 max naturally goes down. So of course, our older contingent in the fire department is going to argue with that. So we're working on that. But most professional fire departments do have some combination of the two things that we do.
So I want to switch subjects a little bit, and that is Cherie.
Yeah,
I got the chance to meet her at the 2016 regionals. I was working security right beside the analyst desk, and she was the analyst for the regionals here in Columbus. She's an amazing person.
She really is, yeah.
And watching her support you is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in CrossFit. How did you guys meet?
Yeah, we met in Winter Park Resort, where we were both working. It just kind of lucked out that she and I both lived in the same employee housing, and I got to know her just as a friend for a number of years, and we would ski and snowboard together. And I mean, we had a blast together. As things kind of lined up, she was always dating somebody, or I was always dating somebody. So romantically, things never really worked out, but there was always sparks there. It's kind of funny. Definitely flirty with each other when we shouldn't have been. But yeah, she, eventually, I think right around 2003, she and I started dating after being friends for four years, something like that. And I just fell in love with her. She's so great. And the one thing about Cherie, there's a million good things about Cherie, but she has supported me through every stupid thing that I've wanted to do. And some of those things have been dangerous. Some of those things have been things that she doesn't think I should do, but she knows that it's important to me, and she'll help me through it. And man, she's just, I watch her face, and I'm sure you saw it. Like when I'm participating in some of that stuff, she is more stressed than I am. Yeah. So it's a fun thing to go through with her, because she and I are both in it equally. And it doesn't matter if I'm standing on the podium, it's us standing on the podium. And it's a pretty cool feeling to know that I have somebody that loves me enough to support me through the crazy shit that I'm interested in doing. And some of that stuff is pretty selfish, and she's willing to put up with me for those times. But then eventually she also tells me the truth and says, all right, it's over. It's time for us or me.
So not only are you a 6-time games competitor, but you got out of the friend zone.
Yeah, that was pretty tough.
That might be a bigger accomplishment than all the other stuff.
Yeah. And the CrossFit Games is only a small part of that stuff. It was a big part of my life, for a lot of years. But she supported me through 24-hour mountain bike races. I just did a couple of years ago, I did a 100-mile mountain bike race. That's considered the highest and hardest endurance mountain bike race in the world. I did this ski race called the Grand Traverse, which was absolutely brutal. And she supports me through all of that stuff, like she's the one doing it. And this summer, we're actually taking a little time, and we're going to do some things that she wants to do, which are not easy either. And we're going to focus on some of her objectives.
The coolest thing about it is you can tell that you two are 100% committed to each other. by the interactions and by the actions that she takes when you're out on the competition floor or whatever you're doing. And I just love seeing that. To see that true love is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, she, the thing about Cherie is, we've had our ups and downs, just like any other couple or, you know, married couple. We've had our ups and downs, and there's been points where, like, you know, you're looking at it like, God, how are we going to get through this? Like, I am so angry right now, and she is so angry at me right now. And, you know, sometimes it lasts days, sometimes it lasts a week. But, you know, she and I have made a couple commitments to each other that we don't violate. And, you know, one of them is we don't talk about divorce. That's not a thing. You know, we talk about how are we going to get through this. And then the other thing is we decided to lay some ground rules for when we do argue, so that we don't cross the line. And I think that, you know, those ground rules have really helped us over the years. And I don't even know where she got it from. Like, but we were like, all right, look, if we're going to argue like this, we need to set some rules, because there's no use bringing up old shit. Right. And that's one of our rules, is like, let's talk about the now. Let's not talk about what's in the past. And
yeah, it's not fair fighting.
Yeah. Cause we're never going to fix the stuff in the past. It's already fucked. So yeah, we got a bunch of those things, and it's like, if we stick to those rules and you keep in mind, like, I have to keep in mind that this woman has given up so much for me, and I would do anything for her as long as I go back to that. Like, she and I are good, and that's really what gets us through most of everything.
So in addition to just being a married couple, you're both on seminar staff.
We were on seminar staff. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And you were on for a very long time.
Yeah, we were. So I got hired by CrossFit HQ in November or December of 2008, and Cherie got hired in shortly after, like maybe February of 2009. And we just severed our relationship with them in 2020. And you know, it was just time for us to move on. And, you know, frankly, we were having a tough time because the seminars weren't booking quite like they were before. And with the number of staff members that were working for CrossFit HQ, we were getting a little bit less work. So, you know, at the time I was already working back for the fire department, so my decision was pretty easy. And Cherie decided that, you know, with the way things were going, it just made sense for her to move on as well.
But you guys are still going to come back to Columbus, hang out.
Oh man. So we actually work with, you know, I still work with Rogue. We just finished a little project with Rogue using Zeus to help build out our garage gym. And we filmed it from start to finish. So I haven't been able to get to Columbus in a while, but I love Columbus. Like, you know, I look at phone prices in Columbus just in case, you know, because I dig the C-Bus, man. And I got good friends there, you know, Dan Bailey's there. Obviously the Hennigers are there, and the whole Rogue team. I know so many of those guys, but Columbus is a fun place to be. And there's so many great events that pass through there. And then just Rogue itself, I don't know if you guys have been to their new shops, but I mean,
yeah.
There's good stuff happening there. I mean, you know, restaurants, that whole area that they own now is just going to blow up.
Yep.
We're going to take a short break from our interview to tell you about our newest sponsor, Up Before You Coffee. They are an amazing coffee. It is delicious, has different little notes of chocolate and things like that. And it's really clean and crisp when you drink it in the morning. But they have a light roast. They also have a medium roast, as you can see there. We are so excited about this sponsorship. If you use Clydesdale 20, all caps, Clydesdale 20, you can get 20% off your order. Just go to upbeforeyou.com and order your coffee. It's delicious. You'll love it.
Blow up.
Yep.
Well, speaking of Rogue, you know, how cool is it that you have a line at Rogue, like the Matt Chan bar?
Yeah.
Not
yeah,
everybody gets that.
No, not everybody gets that. And what's really cool about that one is it's not just another barbell painted a little differently. It's actually got some pretty cool custom specs that I worked with their design team on. And it was really the way that came about was I was just there visiting, doing some video work for them. And Bill wanted to show me their new manufacturing facility with their where they make their barbells. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So we go over there, we take a look at it. And one of the guys, I forget what the guy's name was. I mean, the production guy at the time, his name was Ian. And he asked me, he's like, do you want to, you know, maybe like make your own bar, make a custom bar like right now? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, what would you do differently? And I kind of described to him the things that I would like out of a bar. And so we made it. And I was like, can I bring this thing home? And they were like, well, we're gonna have to talk to Bill about that. So they called Bill up. Bill comes back and he says, you know what? How about we just talk about maybe manufacturing this thing and put it up on the line of barbells for sale. I was just like, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, let's do that.
That had to be the coolest feeling to have your own named bar.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that thing like up close and personal. It is, in my opinion, I mean, I'm biased obviously, but like if you look at that compared to all the other bars that are out there, it is the sexiest bar on their line. It is.
And you can get that at roguefitness.com, Matt Chan's bar.
Yeah,
check it out.
Yeah, I just got one for the, believe it or not. So I had the prototype for probably about like 6 or 7 years, and I finally bought myself the new black one with the black sleeves, and it is sexy.
Wow. Yeah, I have an Ohio bar, so maybe I'll have to look into it.
Yeah.
So the next thing I have is you were a 6-time. It's kind of confusing. Sometimes it says 7 times, sometimes it says 6, but I believe it's 6-time CrossFit Games athlete.
Yeah, I made it to the CrossFit Games 6 times, and I made it just to regionals. In that last year, I took I think like 7th or 9th or something like that. So I in 2015 I did not make it to the CrossFit Games.
And so in 2000, I think it was 2012, you finished 2nd to Rich. What was that feeling like to make the podium at the CrossFit Games?
Well, for years, that was my goal. You know, my goal was always to try to win, obviously, but in 2008, my first year, I took 8th place and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I was like, oh, you know what? I could be pretty good at this. So I'm going to try training a little harder. And 2009, I kind of learned some stuff. I didn't train quite right. I did more like heavy lifting than conditioning. And then I started to get the hang of it, and I figured out what it took to actually do well at the CrossFit Games. And in 2010, I took 4th. 2011, I was top 10. I don't remember what place I came in. And then 2012, I took 2nd place. And you know, I think once I stood on the podium in that 2nd place slot, I really kind of felt good about my achievements. Probably could have pushed it a little bit further, but Cherie and I decided in 2013 that we'd rather do some stuff with CrossFit HQ, also travel around a bit. So training kind of went on the back burner, but still made it to the CrossFit Games. I think I ended up in like 18th place or something like that. And then after that, I started dealing with a bunch of injury stuff. So it kind of went downhill for me after the 2013 year.
Well, you're a great guest because you give me the lead into the next subject. And of course, in 2014 was the horrific mountain bike accident that almost cost you your life, except for your strong skin.
Yeah, you know, I did. I lucked out, honestly. Like, simple accident. I've seen videos of it happening to other people as well. So it's a common accident. That pretty much ended that pretty much ended like any hopes of CrossFit Games in the future, just because the vasculature in my leg changed, and I actually have dealt with it's called avascular necrosis. So basically, the distal end of my femur is slowly dying because of lack of blood flow. Is it related to that injury? I don't know, and our doctors can't tell me. So as far as things like squatting and stuff like that, I can't do it anymore. I do squat. I squat heavy for me, but it's all relative. And compared to what people are doing nowadays, even in the masters divisions, I'm just not that competitive. So I'm back to the kind of like fun fitness stuff.
So what was life like when that happened? First, it's a prime example of the sickness wellness continuum.
Yep.
Right? You had moved all the way over to wellness. So when that accident happened, that may have saved your life. Because if the skin would have broke, you would have died, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the doctor in the emergency room and the plastic surgeon that came in and closed everything up, they both said the same thing. They were like, if you hadn't had as much muscle tissue as you have in your legs, your leg would have split wide open, and that artery would have just been bleeding until help arrived, which was, I didn't see the first search and rescue guy for 45 minutes. So we could have applied a lot of pressure, figured out a way to tourniquet my upper thigh. But, as it turned out, the artery itself had retracted up into my pelvis area. So, I mean, I couldn't have applied any pressure there anyway. So yeah, it would have been bad. And luckily enough, like you said, with the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum, I was so fit at the time that, it only took me probably 2 to 3 months to really rehab. And soon thereafter, I was back squatting, 450 pounds and front squatting 425. And I snatched 300 pounds literally 6 months later. So, I mean, it just goes to show, like, when you do have a good buffer against getting sick or ill, your life's going to be better because of it. And luckily I was able to live through that shit because of that.
And I'm sure Cherie was right there side by side with you, supporting you through all that. Cause it had to be just a mental game at first as well.
Yeah. For me, I went through some ups and downs. I got a little disappointed that probably my CrossFit career, my competitive CrossFit career was over. Because just like anybody that has an athletic career, you start to identify with that and build up an ego due to that. And when that's taken away from you, or if it just if you become irrelevant, it's a blow. And I definitely felt like that for a little while. But I think Cherie really dealt with the brunt of the issues from that injury, because she felt like it was on her that we couldn't get the help that we needed while I was out there. And I definitely think she dealt with some post-traumatic stress stuff because of that, because now when we go hiking or, on a mountain bike ride or any of that stuff, she needs to know where we're going. Do we have a method to contact search and rescue? Do we have a method to get in touch with police if necessary? What kind of animals are out there? All that stuff. And we that was not a thing before. We used to go mountain biking at 5 p.m. and come home around 9:30, 10 o'clock with no lights. So I mean, like, things definitely changed, and it definitely affected how we interacted on some of these adventures. But slowly but surely, everything's gotten a little bit better.
So was it from the accident that you started having knee problems, or was that unrelated to that?
I wish I could tell you the truth to that. I would say that the knee problems came at that same time.
Okay.
So chances are what ended up happening was because that leg was weaker for a period of time, I probably overused the other leg. and then try to balance it back out too quickly, with physical therapy, and probably just did a little bit of damage. I'm still dealing with it today. I've got a little mini hole in my meniscus right now that I can't squat heavy right now because it'll lock my knee up. So, I've got a really great guy that helps me with treatments, with blood products, and it works like a charm. It just takes a little time.
So let's talk about some of the fun things you've done since. You've mentioned all the big mountain bike races, the 100-mile. I think I read somewhere where your goal was to make it under 12 hours, which I can't imagine doing anything for 12 hours straight.
Yeah. Yes. So I have a bucket list for a lot of things, and the CrossFit Games were on that bucket list. Once I discovered CrossFit and the CrossFit Games, that was on the bucket list. But long before that, I had about 3 or 4 different things that were on kind of my lifetime bucket list. And one of them was the Leadville 100 mountain bike race. I discovered that in 2003 or 2002 as I discovered mountain biking. And it's in Leadville, Colorado. It starts at 10,000 feet and goes up to 12,600 feet. And then turns back around. So it's 100 miles total. Very, very difficult race. A lot of people in it. And the big trick is if you finish under 12 hours, you get a belt buckle, and it's a pretty badass belt buckle. It's like one of those old cowboy belt buckles, gold and silver. If you finish under 9 hours, you get the big belt buckle, and that thing you could eat your dinner off of. It's so damn big. But 12 hours was a realistic goal for me, and I trained for about a year trying to do it, and I came in at 11:08. Very fulfilling to be able to train for that and then actually do it. And then the other thing that was on the bucket list for the last 20 years was the race that I just completed 2 weeks ago, and that's called the Grand Traverse, which is a 40-mile backcountry ski race from Mount Crested Butte, which is in the Elk Mountain Range in central Colorado, all the way to Aspen Mountain via the Elk Mountain Range. And you start at midnight. You have to have a partner. So my partner was a fellow firefighter named Cam Gallegos, great dude. And we trained together a little bit. And you start at midnight, and you basically start skiing up Crested Butte Mountain, and then you ski out of bounds out to what's called Brush Creek, all the way over to Aspen. And sounds simple, but holy hell, it's in the top 3 hardest things I've ever done. 15 hours, and you're on foot the whole time, self-powered. So unlike a bicycle, where you've got gearing that can push you further, this is as far as your steps can take you. That's where you're going. And there was very little downhill skiing in that. We took our skins off the bottom of our skis probably about 4 times. And the actual distance you're covering without your skins on was pretty minimal, maybe a half mile at a time. So you're really doing most of this like a cross country ski. And we had hoped for sub 12 hours, and our families were there at the finish line at the sub 12 hour mark, and they stayed there for an additional 3 hours until we showed up. Oh man, great. We were wrecked.
So Amy and I had the chance to watch you do the Legends competition at the 2019 Rogue Invitational. And I do have to say, I don't know if anybody had more fun than you did during that competition. Yeah. It looked like a high school reunion, and you were the class clown.
Yeah, those guys, those are the guys I came up with. And some of them were being competitive, and that was fine. But, I was there just to have fun. I couldn't even tell you the last time I did a muscle up, and then they tell us we're doing Amanda. And it was just like, oh, crap. Well, I guess guess I got to see if I can still do that, but yeah, Jason, Chris, Miko, Tommy Hackenbrook, all those guys and the gals too. Those are the people I competed against for 6 years. And those are the people that really were the beginning of the sport.
The OGs.
The OGs. I mean, I said it there and I'll say it again. I feel like that group of people set the tone for what the CrossFit Games is now. And many of the movements themselves, were created by that group of people. Like, barbell cycling was not a thing. And the backswing kip and a muscle up was not a thing. And we learned how to do that stuff so that we could be more efficient and beat each other. And one of the great parts about that is that, those guys are so athletic. Once you see one person do one of those movements, it's very easy to copy and replicate what they're doing and be like, oh shit, that's efficient. I can do the, whatever the movement is, I can do it faster now. So, hey, look, this goes all the way back to the 2008 games when Jason Kalipa decided to do squat clean thrusters or clusters for the final event of 30 squat clean to overhead with 155. That was the final event in the 2008 games. And he didn't do clean and jerks. He did clusters. And all of us were like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. Well,
but I loved what you said though at the Rogue Invitational after that, how you were talking also though, just about how you brought like the community aspect about it. Like that was the powerful part. Like when you were just saying that you guys kind of have shown us how to be the community. And that to me meant, it got me really excited about and reminded me about the best parts about CrossFit besides the, obviously the fitness, the wellness and all that, but really it's the community aspect.
Yeah. And the cool part about that is that most of us in that group of people were affiliate owners at some point. And so, the rah, cheer for, the guy that's finishing last, that's something that we were doing on a daily basis to try to get our clients to finish these workouts that we know were ball busting workouts. And everything is relative. So whether it's somebody that's coming in for their first week of CrossFit at the affiliate level, or whether it's, us at the CrossFit Games, we know how bad each of us are struggling, whether it's your first day or whether it's one of these guys at the CrossFit Games. It's like, I want to see you finish. I want to see you finish because this is what we do. We cheer each other on. And at a certain point, that definitely changed. And I'm not going to lie, I changed with that as well, because it definitely became more competitive. I remember in 2013 at the regionals event in Salt Lake City, Chris Spieler, Eric O'Connor, and I, we rented, we had a couple of travel trailers parked outside of the event itself, so that we didn't need to spend all that time inside the, I think it was called like the Olympic Park Center or something like that, just to keep our stress levels low so that we could spend time with our family and not sit in all of the high stress environment of people shouting and watching other competitors, do well or suffer. And we caught a little bit of flack for that because we weren't staying and cheering people on. But at that time, it was transitioning to what it is now, where, hey, look, I want these guys to do well. Don't get me wrong. And I would love to stay here and watch them do well. But I need to go start recovering for the next event because my livelihood depends on this.
yeah.
So it's a different game now than it was before. Probably with the exception of maybe like the masters guys and gals and the teams, like, don't get me wrong. I realize that those guys are all competitive to their own degree, but it's just not the same as the individuals where they're making, 6 figures on endorsements just to do well.
Yeah. I think that's what was great about the legends is, like, I started CrossFit in 2011 to see all of the people that were the big names when I started and just having fun. It wasn't about who won that competition. It was about like everybody out there just having fun. And I think that was great. Bill and Katie were genius in putting that together.
Yeah, they really were. And they're no dummies. They know that, you put us oldies out there and people are going to be like, oh yeah, those guys, I remember them. They're awesome. I mean, I still idolize Miko Salo. I mean, that dude is just one hell of a guy, and you don't hear a lot from him. So when you get a chance to see him in person and he's doing his thing, it's just like, oh man, he's the legend. He's the guy.
Well, I want to finish up with a little bit of the Titan games, and then we have a couple rapid fire questions to hit you with. And
Sure.
so you're the fourth person we've had on that's been on the Titan games, but the first champion. And you were the oldest competitor coming into that. And I believe I heard, is it true that you were actually an alternate and got moved in after the fact?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I wish I could remember the fella's name that had gotten the spot before me, but yeah, I was an alternate, and they had asked me, they're like, hey, look, things happen. If you want to come, we'd love for you to come. There's only 2 alternates for men and 2 alternates for women. So if somebody gets hurt, the likelihood that you'll get popped in there is high. So I was like, well, I have to get time off of work. But Cherie and I think there's a lesson that a lot of people could take. Cherie and I promised ourselves a long time ago that if there's an interesting opportunity, and even if it's not guaranteed, we're going to take that opportunity. And that has opened up so many doors for she and I across the years that never, ever in my life would I have guessed that it led to the things that it led to. This is just another one of those. So I talked to Cherie, came home. I told her, I was like, hey, they called. They said I'm only going to be an alternate. So I don't see taking time off of work to go to this thing. What do you think? And she's like, don't be an idiot, go. So I got a couple trades. I went down there in late January. And when I showed up, immediately they're like, hey, turns out the guy that you were his alternate, he tore his bicep, so he's not coming down. Or it might have been his pec, but he's not coming down. So you wanna get in on the mix? I was like, well, let's see. Yes.
So what was the overall experience like? It was very different than CrossFit because they were like shorter events. You only had to do a couple. The other people have told us that what we saw on TV was really a different order than the way you guys kind of did it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yep. So yeah, it was, here's the similarities. Similarities are that it was a competition. There was an audience. There was an announcer. There was hype. There was interviews beforehand. So, there's a lot of things that were similar that, luckily I had the opportunity to go through some of that stuff, and it wasn't as stressful as it was for some of these other guys. The dissimilarities would be, it's very, very Hollywood. So, everything from makeup to hair. I did sugar lip scrubs because my lips are disgusting, and apparently that's not appealing to people. But also just the way that, if you say something and they don't really like the way you say it again, and then it gets twisted a little bit, and then they really drum up your story, right? So I think really what they wanted to do is have people, the viewers, identify with you in some way, shape, or form. And for me, it was that injury that they wanted people to identify with, that you could come back from an injury and still have a successful athletic life. And I agree with that. The way that they pumped it up, though, maybe isn't exactly me, but I think it turned out really good. And the one thing that I really loved that they did that wasn't on the plan was they really highlighted Cherie and I's relationship throughout the entire event. Because frankly, she and I rely so much on each other for support and to get through things like that, when I watched the final when I got to watch the show, and it was this, when they started showing it in whatever August, and they started showing how much they showed Cherie, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I was in tears. It's just like, I love you. I'm sorry. I didn't realize seeing this is like, oh my gosh, just bringing it all back. But yeah, it was a really cool experience. I do have to say the events were extraordinarily hard. And yes, you didn't get to see all of the event. They definitely cut stuff out so that it was a little bit more watchable for the viewer.
Yeah, I just have to say how impressed I was with where you're tied to the guy with the rope and you have to throw the trash cans, oil drums, or whatever. You were much
the
smaller.
best one, was it?
Huh?
Yeah, he's a bigger guy than me for sure. I think we might weigh the same, but he's definitely taller. And he's a beast. That guy, Doc Thor, he's a beast.
And you like dominated that event. That was so impressive.
Well, I think the thing that I benefited from was I know how to use my body, and bodybuilders, and this is no offense to bodybuilding because I use bodybuilding on a daily basis as accessory work, but when you think of your body as parts and pieces rather than a whole, and how can you get the job done with a whole, that's what makes CrossFitters so powerful. And people that train isolation movements, less powerful. Can they get bigger muscles? Yes, they can. But when you're using your body as a whole, you just have much more power. And a perfect example is like I have a YouTube channel that has, how to perform a kipping pull-up. And I can't tell you how many comments I delete that say, what the hell is this shit? When it comes to the kipping, right? But hey, I'd love to see you perform 70 pull-ups in a row, because I can do that, and I'm using my same body just like you're using your same body, So I think that's where maybe Danny, myself, Kareem, the group of CrossFitters that were on the show, that's why those guys excelled, is because they just know how to use their bodies as a whole.
And the last question I have about the Titan Games was the trophy as heavy as it looked?
Oh my God, Jesus. Yeah, it was. That thing must have weighed, I'm not exaggerating, it had to weigh 50 pounds. And, I got to admit, there's one thing I have to say. I didn't get to keep the trophy. And I really, really wanted to keep that trophy.
What kind of business
Did they give you anything?
What's funny? I got nothing. I walked out of there with nothing. Like I eventually obviously got a pretty sweet check in the mail, but like I walked away. They took our uniforms. They took everything. I think I got a plastic water bottle with a T on it. That's it.
Did you get to do a shot of tequila with The Rock?
Nope.
Come on.
But I'll tell you what though. All right. So you guys probably saw the guy named Will Sutton. He was Country Strong. So Will Sutton and we turned out to be really good friends throughout the entire time. Even in our auditions, I was like, I like this guy. He's got a good attitude. And we're standing there one day, and it was kind of like the semifinal. So there's probably like 6 of us standing around, and The Rock walks up, and of course we're all like enamored, like, oh, it's The Rock. Here he is. And he's standing there, and he's making small talk a little bit. And it got awkward. We're all kind of standing there. Nobody knows what to say. And The Rock's kind of doing his thing. And then old Will Sutton says, "Hey, Rock, you like to hunt?" It's like, The Rock turns to it and says, he's like, "Did you just ask me if I like to hunt?" Oh man. So yeah, it was tough. He's a real down to earth guy, but I mean, he is just on another level than us. So it was really hard to have a real conversation with him.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go ahead and hit you with the rapid fire questions. And
all right.
Amy's up first.
What is the craziest fire department story that you can share with us?
Oh, craziest fire department story. Okay, well, here's a quick one. We were in the ambulance. I sometimes work on an ambulance, and we were in the ambulance, and we got a call for a guy who was walking down the middle of the street, and we stop, we pick him up. Sir, where do you live? And he was clearly disoriented, didn't know where he was, didn't know, this, that, or the other. So we put him in the back of the ambulance, and really our only choice is to take him to the hospital. So he's like, no, don't take me to the hospital. I don't want to go to the hospital. He's like, I live around here, or I live around here. And it was pretty clear that he was out of it. So we're like, all right, sir, well, this is what we're going to do. We're just going to just drive around a little bit. And if you see your house, just let us know. But we're going to have to take you to the hospital. So in my head, I'm thinking, no way are we finding this house. We're driving around. He can't even see anything. And then all of a sudden he just decides, he's like, this is my house. Like, there's no windows. He's not looking out a window. So we opened the door. I was like, okay, well, my partner's going to go check and see if this is your house, thinking like, okay, we're taking this guy to the hospital. No shit. Somehow, without even seeing the house, the guy, my partner goes up, knocks on the door and says, hey, are you missing like a 95-year-old man? And they're like, yes, actually we are. And no shit, it was the guy's house. He had the wherewithal to know where he was at. So that was interesting.
That's great. Charlie, you're up. Do you have the question?
Tacos or pizza?
Oh man, that is rough, Charlie. I'm gonna go tacos. I eat tacos three times a week, so I'm gonna go tacos.
All right. Well, mine is, who is more chipper in the morning, you or Cherie?
Oh, Cherie, without a doubt. My God, it takes me 45 minutes to be able to feel like a human.
Best part about living in Colorado?
Just the adventures. I will say that my favorite thing right now is September hunting season. I just absolutely love it. I don't even need to get anything. I just love being out there.
Your favorite games movement?
You know what I always loved about the games was they always, for a number of years there, they always included swimming, and nobody else could swim except for me. So, so I always shined on those ones. So I'm going to go with swimming.
And my last one is their favorite thing you like to do to just recharge, relax, get away from it all.
Sauna. I'll do a 45-minute sauna at 190 pretty much every day, and I use that as kind of like my mindfulness practice, as well as just kind of let the body recoup a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, this has been a fun hour. Thank you so much for taking the time out. You've had the best background of any of our guests, with the beautiful clouds in the sky, and
oh, thanks.
Saw some planes go by as we were talking.
Yep.
So, well, thank you very much. You're an OG. We've been following you for a long time. You've always been awesome when I've run into you at the Arnold or Rogue. And it was just great to chat with you.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. It's good to meet you guys.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks.